My dear sisters and brothers, you remember that in the book of Genesis, God saw everything that He had done and it was very good. We know how God has made everything in the Gospel of John. The prologue tells us, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. All things came into being through Him, and nothing exists without Him. So we have all come in through the Word. That means we have been all created through Jesus. And now all of us who are here are also baptized. We have a new life in Jesus. We are created in Him, but we also have His life in us. Actually, the life of God was already breathed into us at that time. But through this baptism, we have been forgiven of all the stains of sin. And we can live with Him in a very pure way. This is what God has done for us. Now we saw how God, when Moses met God, he was totally transformed. His face shone, and the people could not look at him because he was so bright. He had met God. My dear sisters and brothers, all of us are meeting God in our heart, but we have not somehow got into this. He is at the core of our being. And so when we just turn inwards and we become present to our body, mind and spirit, we begin to realize where we are internally. And so in order that we may be with Jesus, He tells us, remain in me and I remain in you. And so if we do that, then all that He is will be ours. His attitudes, His ways will be ours, and they will be flowing through our seeing, our being, our acting, our living. So He's saying, when we do this way, live our life in Jesus, what is going to happen to us? We're going to be good people, because goodness is not ours. Goodness is the Lord's that flows through us. If we try to do good, we do not have a sustenance in it. We do good for some time. After some time, we get tired of it. I'm doing good, they're not doing good. Now we start complaining. Why? That magnanimity in giving without counting the cost, that does not happen to us because we are human beings. We need the divine to make us totally generous, unconditional. That's possible only when we align ourselves to God who is in us. Then we don't expect anything. Why? Because the joy is not in receiving, but in giving. And there are many of you who have understood this and who are practicing it. Because when God gives it to you and you give it away, you are empty now. So He fills you up with more so that it can be more generous. And that's how it works. So we have seen here that when you are a good person, then that understanding is given to you, and then you are like the scribe who brings in the good, the old, but always for the good of the other. What do we see in the Old Testament? The whole way in which a tabernacle was formed, when God was going with the people in the wilderness. It was not easy. It was very tough. Any one of us, if we have been into the desert, you know how terrible it is. It is really awful. And God took them through the wilderness for 40 years. And He remained with them. At that time, this concept of He being in our heart, living with Him, was not there. He lived in the tent and there was a cloud. And when the cloud rested, they all rested. When the cloud went, then they went further. So they knew that they had to go. So this was how they had interpreted the signs of the time and His presence in their life. But we are so lucky. So let us, my dear sisters and brothers, keep to what we have been told. You know, all of us follow Jesus. What did Jesus do? Always spend some time before He went to bed, and on rising He spent time with whom? With His Father, so that He was totally inebriated with His presence, so that He said, whatever I say, whatever I do, I don't say it. It is God who says it through me. And that's how we see the life of Saint Francis Xavier. He is still continuing to do not what he wants, but what God wants to do through him. That's why we come here with great devotion, because we feel that kind of constancy in the presence and His constant intercession for us. So let us, my dear sisters and brothers, join our hands, keep them in our lap, keep our back straight, close our eyes, and just be present to God who is so intimate with us. The breath, He comes into us and He exudes out of us. But when He comes and goes, He brings in all His goodness, fills it up in us. And what bad things we have tried to do, thinking it was good, that also we are able to let go, because in those things we have not found lasting happiness. Temporary, yes, but lasting happiness, let us surrender it so that we make use of things insofar as they help us to the end, and be detached from them when they are not.